Hey guys, wrthcrw here. It's done. The Comprehensive Superglide Guide. This video has been a work in progress for a few weeks now, and I always have people asking me how I get my Superglides so consistent and how to do them. So I figured I might as well go ahead and make a guide explaining everything there is to know about supergliding. The video is going to cover everything, including the very basics of how to superglide, as well as your various options. It's also going to cover supergliding sideways and backwards, as well as using tap strafing in supergliding, and at the very end of the video, there's going to be a ton of rollout spots, and I mean a ton, for every single map, as well as useful spots to know when you get your superglides consistent. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. A ton of love and work went into this video, so it would mean a lot to me if you at least liked the video. I would also love it if you guys subscribed. We have more tutorial stuff coming in the future, as well as a supergliding montage, so be sure to stay tuned for that. With all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. So what is supergliding? Supergliding is a burst of speed gained when you input a jump and a crouch command at nearly the same time as you reach the apex of a climb. So as you reach the top of a climb here, you will gain a massive speed boost if you input it at the right time, like so. This is very much different than just the crouch slide that you get after climbing up a ledge like this to instantly accelerate. It gives you more acceleration. It also gives you some height as well to it. Now, it's important to know, supergliding has a 1, 2, 3 frame window to activate and actually use properly. If you do it too late, you will end up just doing a jump into a slide like this. You don't gain any momentum, and if you do it too early, you will just bounce off or fall off of your ledge. It can be very punishing, especially if you're relying on the superglide to do what you want to do. However, with a lot of practice and consistency, there are some ways to make this easier. The main way I use is you can bind your jump and your crouch inputs to very similar, if not spammable, inputs. So for example, for me, I put my crouch and jump on very close keys next to each other. So when I actually want to superglide, I move my thumb to space and V, and it is easier for me to just press them at the same time to actually superglide. There are a few other ways to achieve this as well. Some players use space and C. Some players, like Bullet L, for example, he uses space to jump and he uses his scroll wheel as crouch. Or you can do it vice versa. Whatever works for you to actually get those inputs in together nearly at the same time. I used to try and practice with my crouch on mouse wheel, or on my thumb button on my mouse, but my superglides were just far too inconsistent, and putting them on the same buttons right here, V and spacebar, made it very easy for me to do. People have also had success binding both hold and toggle crouch and pressing them at the same time that you want to superglide as well. So you have 2 different crouch inputs that you press at the same time. They also have reported that using hold over toggle is better, but I've seen no difference personally between the two. I would use whatever feels comfortable for you. If you find that toggle is easier to use than hold, or vice versa, I would just use whatever is more comfortable for you to superglide with. Go ahead and play around with it, use the various different keybinds, and see whatever is most comfortable with you. Earlier, you may have noticed that I said a 1, 2, 3 frame window to actually superglide. Well, what changes the frame window that you actually have? And that is entirely dependent on your frame rate. The lower the amount of frames you have, the higher frame window you have to actually do this. So you may be asking, how would I lower my frame rate just to superglide? You can actually set up an auto exec to lower your max frame rate whenever you want to superglide. However, this is not permitted within ALGS rules, and I personally don't recommend you use this method. And as I do not know how to, I will not be covering it in this video. However, there will be a video right here or in the video description explaining how to do so. So feel free to check that out if that's something you're interested in. However, what this does mean though, is that on consoles, It is actually easier to superglide because you can superglide on controllers. There's nothing, it's not like tap strafing where you can tap strafe only with your mouse wheel. You can actually do all of this on controller. However, as I am not on controller, I cannot give you guys a proper guide for that. I would recommend looking up at another tutorial of some sort on how to super glide on controller. Once you master super gliding in the forward direction, you can actually start to super glide in the other different ways possible. I would become comfortable knowing how to super glide forward off of many different ledge types, such as the smaller ones, the larger ones, and then you can go ahead and start practicing different types of super gliding. First type we're going to cover here is sideways super gliding. So instead of putting a W input into your super glide, you're going to put an A or a D input into it, and it will send you flying in the corresponding direction. The first one here, we'll go ahead and press A. And for the second one here, we're going to go ahead and press D. There is a lot of variation you can do with this, as you can start to redirect your momentum even without tap strafing. You can redirect your momentum in a sort of forward angle. So as soon as you hit the sideways super glide, if you hold W, your character will start to go forward and you'll kind of curve at an arc like this. There was no tap strafing at all. However, once combined with tap strafing, you can do some pretty insane things, such as go around in a circle. With super gliding sideways, you can even tap strafe backwards to achieve a better result than a backwards super glide. However, when tap strafing gets removed from the game, this will no longer be the case. How you use this is up to you a lot. There are many buildings in World's Edge where you can go to the doors as well. You can super glide off the door. Finally, last but not least, we have backwards super gliding. Backwards super gliding is a lot harder on PC than it is on controller, as controller can just hold the analog stick backwards, but PC players cannot achieve the same effect by pressing S. What PC players have to do instead is you have to start a sideways super glide, but instead of keeping your direction to the left or right and then moving forward, you want to move backwards. If you are familiar with mid-air redirects before tap strafing became popular, you will be a lot more familiar with this. It is good to note that a backwards super glide with no tap strafing gets you less distance than a normal super glide does. So if you can super glide forward in that direction, it is better than doing it backwards, or a sideways super glide with a tap strafe will get you more distance. With your options presented to you as to how to make your super gliding easier, there is one thing that triumphs all, and that is just raw experience. Becoming familiar with the timing you have to do for it, I would sit in the range and practice until you can hit your super glide maybe once out of every 5 times, as that's what I grew to be familiar with. And as I was running around in my matches, I would climb onto every ledge possible when I'm not in a fight and just try and hit super glides as just I was walking around the map. And this helped me grow familiar with the timing, and I do this with pretty much every movement tech. I do this with tap strafing, I did this with wall jumping, and I've become a lot more familiar with the movement techs as I can use them. By taking your time to just practice in downtime, like when you're running around pubs around the map, just trying to find somebody, or you're sitting in a building in rank, waiting for zone, I would just wait. I would just try and super glide ambiently, and just do what you can when you can. Get the raw practice in. Now, where can you super glide? As I said earlier, you can super glide off of any ledge. If you look here, on this ledge here, you can mantle this ledge and climb it and then super glide. And from any ledge, you can super glide pretty much in any direction as you want. You can also super glide off small objects like this, so small climbs like these. These are very similar to the buildings in city that have the glass railings. You can also super glide off of objects that you can't mantle, such as these little rises in the ground. You see I can't mantle this, but yet I can still super glide in this, as I will show in this clip here. It is important to note, however, that there are certain objects that are very difficult to super glide off of, and it's objects that have a slanted or like tiered like top. For example, these AC units that you can see, they are in like the diners throughout World's Edge. There's plenty of other things similar to these that are very difficult to super glide off of. You still can, but the timing is very hard compared to the normal timing it takes to super glide. So I would recommend trying to avoid these and avoid trying to super glide off of these and just go with the regular crouch slide until you can practice and master the timing on these particularly. And these don't occur enough that it's that big of a problem. Just try and keep a mental note of it. Probably the most robust use of super gliding is super gliding off of death boxes. As you'll see in this clip here, I super glide off of this group of death boxes here while just crafting and waiting in ranked. You can use this in fights to swing and do some crazy stuff, as you'll see in the future with the super gliding examples. Rampart can super glide off of her walls as they're building and after she places them, allowing for you to do some insane techs with her. You can also super glide anywhere on the map now, as long as you have a wall on cooldown. This is probably the most unique feature about Rampart and what makes her appealing as a person who enjoys playing movement characters. The ability to super glide anywhere and any time on the map as long as you have a wall is insanely valuable, especially with the value that super glides can provide to you. You can super glide off of the wall and tap strafe back into the wall's range, or you can even backwards super glide back underneath, and then it'll be finished by the time that you actually get it set up. When you are looking around the different parts of the map, this could very well substitute for a speed boost, although I haven't tried it necessarily enough to give that perfect credentials. You can definitely do some rollouts with these, as they give you a little bit more height to super glide off of, such as the rooftops in city that have no ledges. You can totally get on the roofs of these buildings and probably super glide to nearby buildings. Just try and be creative with what you do with these. So, with super gliding, now that you know what you can super glide off of, how would you use super gliding? You can use super gliding in various ways. Super gliding lets you gain this burst of speed that is also amplified by movement abilities. So anything that increases your speed will get you further in a super glide. And this allows you to do some insane rollouts or even some jukes on some enemies. So here I have Pluto. I will have their POV showing all the super glides and how it looks like from a third person. First, we're going to start with a normal super glide. Now we'll go ahead and start with a sideways super glide. Next, I'll show a backwards super glide. And now I'll show the various super glides with tap strafing. First is a forward super glide. Here's a sideways super glide with tap strafing. Finally, here's a backwards super glide. Now, here are the various super glides with speed boost and tap strafing. Forward super glide. Sideways super glide with tap strafing and speed boost. And then finally, a backwards super glide with a speed boost and tap strafing. So with super glides being so heavily influenced by movement speed, there's actually a tech you can do on Wraith that is a little impractical, yet very flashy to do, and it gives you a full speed super glide at the 30% speed boost without actually using the portal and putting it on cooldown. So to start, you want to portal against the object you want to Superglide against. And as you climb to the top of this object, right when you hit the Superglide, before moving too far away from your portal, you want to cancel it. So you want to do it like so.
Punching a tunnel.
You can see here that it's not necessarily the easiest thing to pull off. Even with my practice, I still am prone to mess up a few times. But if you're able to master this, you can hit them without wasting your phase or your portal cooldown, which is a very valuable cooldown to have, especially as Wraith. I would recommend mastering Supergliding first, and practicing some phase Superglides before actually trying to use this in a game. And I think that's everything there is to know about Supergliding. If I missed anything, I will release an update video addressing certain things that I missed, or if there's any misconceptions about Supergliding. The rest of this video is going to be dedicated to Superglide spots throughout the different maps, so enjoy the rest of the video with some nice lo-fi beats and some Superglide spots. Please give me a comment down below if I helped you. If you have any questions, I'm more than willing to help. Additionally, be sure to join my Discord server. If you have any questions, it's the best way to reach me, and my community can definitely help you out. I stream on Twitch almost every single day. You can go ahead and catch me there and watch me Superglide in real time on enemies' heads. So, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And thank you so much for watching the video up to this point. I hope you enjoy all the secret spots I've shared. And for now, goodbye.
Seconds. Less than 30 seconds. Rings nearby.
Yeah, literally.